This week in hospitality marketing, live show number 378. I am your host, Loren Gray, and welcome to our weekly show on our TV channel, Hospitality Channel, which you can find on Roku, Google, Amazon, and Apple, and also simulcast on our Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, on a variety of other pages all across the world, actually 39 countries and counting, and we translate to 11 languages. Welcome actually to Treasure Island, Florida. We never have missed a live show weekly for now we're in our 9th year. And this was no exception, even though as I've been on the road, we're doing it from Treasure Island. So with that's the different backdrop to us. So today's show, I want to clear up some confusion to some things. There's been a lot of things going on in the news recently about the acquisition of, the finalization of the acquisition of Twitter with Elon Musk. Already the things that have happened since he took it over, the dissolution of the board, the firing of all their senior exec people pretty much, the rumors, if they're true or not, of work environment changes and so forth in it. But the things that we'll take in this discussion today is the things we see that are coming out as now changes to Twitter. There's a lot of companies that have paused their Twitter ad campaigns. They've paused the viability of using the platform. Large organizations have done this. GM is one of them, to give an example. There is always been authentication in Twitter, which was the blue verification. That has been now subscribed to, where you pay monthly, is what he said he's going to be doing, is you can pay per month and get verified Twitter. So does that take away from the validation process? There's still some moving pieces to that as to whether you still have to qualify in order to be able to pay monthly. Which right now it seems to be the case, but then again, so much is changing. It's hard to say as to which and when. There is some grave concerns as to the truthful interaction of news data. They had a program where news feeds were able to load up what they call blue content, which was content that was verified as being legitimate news and authenticated. That was shut off. So he has made decisions as to releasing and allowing people like Trump and other stupid things like that back onto the platform. But we're here to see. Plus, also mixing the whole politics of what's going on. And there's an interesting world in Twitter right now. Add that the fact that Facebook has been bleeding money this year. They started the year for the first time going backwards in their new memberships. Less people use Facebook than at any time prior to. There's always a growth pattern to Facebook, and that was in the first quarter. Second quarter, they lost money. Third quarter, they bleeded more money. They rolled out their new Meta headset, Quest Pro, well over 3 times the cost of the Quest 2. We've covered VR and AR in our conversations on the live show here several times. It's created some confusion as to what the true intent purpose of Meta is. Obviously, with that, in addition to its bread and butter of advertising, the impact of the new security protocols, like from Apple and so forth, since iOS 14, this goes back a year and a half, almost 2 years ago now, has had a profound effect on the accuracy of ads. And a lot of companies have curtailed their advertisement on Facebook. Because of that, it's put into question their viability of finances for the expansion of their ad campaigns and so forth. So it's put Facebook into question as to how valuable and important of a platform that is. Since then, also, TikTok has come up as the #1 time consumption on the internet. There's several other stats about it. One of the scary ones is that 40% of TikTok users get their news from TikTok, which is an unverifiable source. It's literally just videos of whatever people want to put up. So they're getting their news coverage from people that are basically making it up, which is part of what everyone's getting very tired of when it comes to social media, of the fatigue of the lies and the BS and the inaccuracies, and the just general, if it's said, it must be true, or if it's said somebody else believes it, it must be true. Which brings up a whole point to our show today, which is why I brought all this up. And that is the impact of social and how it compares to how social, in a very broad definition of the term, not just on the technology side of it, but in the broad interactive sense of our society, the socialness of our society, plays a part in our marketing. So today's topic, in the long roundabout way of getting to it, is basically clearing up the difference between influencers, reviews, testimonials, and referrals, the shifting sands of social. I wanted to put those 4 together because all too often people tend to use terminology and buzzwords and or use a word without really using it for its definition's sake. They want to use it to add on top of a pile of other words to add validity to whatever point they're trying to make. And a lot of these words, influencers and the usages of influencers, reviews, testimonials, referrals, they all get humped in together in a big pile to make some sort of valid point. But they're very distinctly different things. Now, influencers are obviously beyond just the social platforms that they reside on. Influencers have always been a part of our lives before internet even existed. I say this in the sense that I'm being a tech head. If I bought a new TV back in the 1960s, and then my neighbor, Bob, was thinking about buying a TV, and he knew I just bought a TV, he might ask me some questions of why I chose the one that I did, where did I buy it, do I like it, so forth and so on. And there's a whole lot to unpack there because there's lots of variations to that conversation content that all fall into different categories. But I would be an influencer to his purchases because my perspective and my review or testimonial or just general knowledge of TVs at that time would have an impact on his purchase decision. I would influence his purchase decision. And we've had this in society for quite a long time. Anybody that is knowledgeable about something or comfortable and fluent in something, and those that are in their social network, meaning neighbors and friends and family and so forth, would rely on them like, oh, go talk to Loren because he's the geek and he knows all the technology stuff. Or go talk to Bob because he's the guy that works on engines and mechanical stuff. Whatever. We've had this concept of influencers for a long time. And in the world of influencers, in that context, they always had some engagement with it in the sense of what value they had. Businesses, marketing businesses back then, had a very clear picture on how valuable getting those people to endorse their product. We'll talk about endorsements in the context of where it lands to it. But keeping with the idea of influencers, with technology and social media as it's come up now, influencers have now had a much larger meaning. People make a living being an influencer. And if you're not understanding the whole concept of that, just simply go into YouTube and look for any product that you're interested in buying. And you'll have people that post videos about them and their engagement with that product. And they fall under the truly dedicated that it's about that product, and they share their insights with that about that product and their usage of that product and so forth. Then you have it under the context of what the product is as a category. That now somebody that's an influencer will review that product in comparison to other products that it might be competing against in this segment of interest. And then you have people that will do it in a way of revealing, like an open boxing, open boxing where they go and they get in the mail and they literally turn the camera on and show you as they open the box, oh, look, there's a pamphlet here and this is how it's, oh, nice packaging. And they literally open the box in front of you so you know what it's like when you get your box and you open it up and whatever is in the box, and that must go with this and these pieces go together or whatever it is. There's a variety of ways that influencers are engaged with a product. Now, right now we're seeing product as being a generic term at this point. We talk about hotels, we talk about retail product, we talk about food, we can talk about anything as a product. Product is a general term for us at this point. So with this, those influencers fall primarily into three categories when it comes to social media influencers. You have the celebrity influencer, and that's kind of a Captain Obvious statement. These people are very popular for whatever they do, whether they're a musician, an actor. Some people are just popular because they're popular. Look at the Kardashians, kind of things, so forth and so on. And because of their popularity, AKA audiences that follow them, that's the popularity aspect of this. The hundreds of thousands or millions of people that follow them on a particular platform, whether it be Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, whatever the platform is. And sometimes they broad spectrum several platforms by doing this. Then if you go to a celebrity, you can spend a tremendous amount of money for that celebrity to say, when I have this XYZ interest, I buy this product, and they feature it. Okay. Now, a lot of them get into hot water for a couple of things now. One is they were not really clear on the fact that they were being compensated to say that stuff, that endorsement stuff that says, hi, I love this product, buy it. And a lot of their followers thought that the celebrity truly did use or like the product and felt that, well, if they like it, then I probably will like it. So let me go try it. And a lot of people bought the product. And the celebrity wasn't very clear. Matter of fact, the Kardashians, Kim Kardashian had paid a few $1 million just recently to settle one of those litigations against her, where she wasn't very clear on the fact that this was a paid endorsement, that she made it look a little bit more of a personal interest or personal like of something, and not the fact that she was getting paid to do that. The other problem that a lot of the celebrity influencers are running into now is fake followers. Now, we saw that a bit in the news with Elon Musk touting about Twitter and how many bots, which is an automation of creating accounts, that they aren't real people, but it's computers generating these pseudo people so that people can have artificial audiences. That was one of his big contentions why he wasn't planning on buying Twitter and so forth, but he's forced his hand into the process of buying it and so forth. And now he's supposed to go through the process of purging all those things, because that was his big thing. There is that worry, because a lot of celebrity influencers have 20, 30, 40% of their followers, that large audiences. Oh my gosh, I wish Kim Kardashian would endorse my product, and and they charge hundreds of thousands of dollars to do just that. And you find out that 30 or 40% of those people that they supposedly reached as their audience wasn't anybody at all. They were bots. And that's beginning to come out in the news, that these celebrity influencers don't really truly have that many real people that they say they have on the platform. So that's another problem that's come out of celebrity influencers. And plus, it's incredibly expensive to get celebrities to endorse your products because of the audience sizes that they purport to have. The next category of influencers is the macro influencers. These people have hundreds of thousands of people, and they're probably more dedicated to a particular product or product types or vein of interest, like travel and or restaurants and or type of restaurants or type of food or type of area of the world or type of travel or those kind of things. You have macro influencers. Think of Steve Gutenberg or Samantha Brown or people like that for travel, that they have such a good following of people. Rick Steves, okay, that have a huge following of people that when they say this is what they like or this is what they would use or they endorse something, then it is well adopted by the people that follow them as something that's like, well, if Rick Steves is like that, he's probably vetted it and compared it against a bunch of other stuff that I don't even know exists. And they say, if this is a good product, that's the one I want, or that's a place to stay, or that's a place to go to. There's this following that comes from this. And it is genuinely there. Influencers do have a very powerful influence when it comes to that, because, and the macro influencers is more so, that I think, than even the celebrities in ways, because there's a more dedicated following, because that person is connected to what they're talking about. And their literal legitimacy of being a macro influencer is based on the fact that people like what they're talking about, hence follow them. And because of that, then the people that get the benefit of being endorsed by these macro influencers receive a huge windfall of interest. And we've seen this a lot of times, going back to the celebrity discussion, celebrities are known for who they are. It's not the fact that they're a foodie, although they might be very much about food, and because they recommend a restaurant, and all of a sudden everybody follows it. We see advertising where people say somebody misspelled the company that they were really talking about, and the misspelled company gets all this brand new business that they didn't anticipate having, simply because they were the misspelled name of whoever the celebrity was talking about. Influencers are very powerful like that. And like I said, many people, especially macro influencers and so forth, make a living off of their endorsements of what they recommend. So a lot of companies will send them their products or send them opportunities for them to experience their products. So in the hopes that they, as influencers, macro influencers, would build that following that would make people want to engage with the product. The third type of influencer, and there's a fourth, but I want to talk about it in a different context. The third type of influencer is a micro-influencer. Micro-influencers are people that have tens of thousands of people on a particular platform or less. They are very passionate or dedicated about what it is that they're doing. They might be on the way up of making more following and more audiences of what they do. Or they might be very happy with just people that love to follow what they're saying and doing because they truly love what they're involved with. Those are the ones you want to look for in that sense, because those are the ones that are going to give true perspective on what you're asking them to give a perspective on. And they'll be very true about saying that, hey, these people sent me the product, or these people gave me the free ride to go to their hotel or to the restaurant or whatever, and I got to experience it firsthand, and I really think it's really cool. Because there's times where they may go and say, this was okay, but not something I want to go back to. That's the gambit you run with these micro influencers, because they're more dedicated to what they are influencing about than the large people that have monetized this on a macro level. Everybody will get naysayers, but for the most part, micro influencers, the naysayers represent a higher resistance than large audiences from celebrities and macro influencers. So micro influencers, you also don't just do one or two, because there's small audiences in comparison, and it's a large number that you look for. The reason why you like to use influencers is because you're trying to make a larger impact that you yourself can't do for yourself by just advertising. You're going to the influencer and you're asking them to expose what it is of your product that you would like them to share. That's why you're going to those influencers. And so the micro influencers, you want to have several of them. And we've had on the live show discussion many times before, not many times, a couple of times before, where we talked about how to discover and what tools, especially on the podcast, we talk about very specific tools about how to find and cultivate influencers in your market that might be undiscovered. They're not out there putting their board up, says this is how much I charge to do all these things. They just might be very passionate about what they do. And because of that, you want to reach out to them and say, would you be willing if I gave you this to come over and do this? Or can you talk about me in this way or something like this if I were to give you this exposure to the product? Those are the people we want to get, but you want to get a few of them like that. I gave an example of a girl that was in Dallas, that was wonderful about Korean restaurants. And there was a few restaurants around a hotel that was a client of ours. And there were really neat Korean restaurants around, and we wanted this influencer of Korean food. She just loved Korean food. And she would hit every Korean restaurant and honestly appraise how the restaurants were. And a couple of the restaurants around us had not been reviewed by her, and we wanted to bring them up, so to speak, so that we could feature them as a relationship to our hotel. Like, we're right around the corner from that, or we're right around the corner from them. And so we reached out to her and said, hey, if you would want to stay at the hotel for a couple of days and go out to these restaurants and try them all and see what you think about everything, us and them and everything else, and share that with your friends and people that follow you from the micro influencer that you are. She was phenomenal with it. One restaurant did really, really well in a review. That it was just okay, it's there, but it's not anything really super fantastic. Obviously, we featured the one that was most featureable. That gives you a micro influencers. And the fourth influencer type that I want to talk to is media. It kind of goes back to the PR discussions we've had in times past. Media is a powerful influencer when in the news for the right reason. If you are covered in the news because of your support for your community, like we just had Ian down in my neck of the woods, and there was restaurants and food organizations that were out to help those that needed help and so forth, and they made the news worth it of that. And there was a lot of people on social that were like, man, I'm going to go to that restaurant because they're really good people. They went out and helped this and helped that. That media influence, that PR influence, is the fourth influencer. And this is the categorizing influencing. They influence people's perception because they're in the media, the news media, the coverage media, the show media. Shows will go and feature stuff. A guest chef comes into a talk show. That's media influencing. Okay. Yes, it's the people that are running the show, the Rachel Rays or the Good Morning Americas or whatever, or the Today shows. Those people also will share the stuff, but it's also the media's influence on the conversation and the content as well. So those are your four influencing categories. The fourth is more PR. It's kind of a pseudo influencer, but it's still an influencing category. So you have celebrity, macro, micro, and media. That brings us to the other parts of our discussion today, and that is the differences between testimonials, reviews, and referrals. They get muddled as to how they're expected to use. And I want to talk more about them in the sense of what ones you should pursue for your business as a hospitality business, not just your hotel, not just your restaurant, but how do you categorize each of them? We talk about getting reviews when somebody states your hotel, like, oh, please review us, or your restaurant, please review us. Then you go out and try to say, hey, can you give us a referral? Or hey, can you give us a testimonial? What is really all the differences? Let's break them down by definition first. Testimonials are gathered, owned, and managed by the business that provides the service or the product. What we're doing is, you enjoyed my restaurant or you stayed at my hotel. Can I get a testimonial from you? And that is tell us what you think. Now, we've talked about tools on the podcast, and we've talked about tools here on the live show, things like Video Peel and others that you send a link and say, hey, do you have a moment to give a video review of a video testimony for the hotel or the restaurant? Then we mitigate that. We take those testimonials and we put them in our website. We put them in the best light possible. We want people that are willing to testify, okay, where it comes from, about our product. So we control that messaging. We put it on our website. We feature it. We want to be highlighted. Here is a previous guest or customer that is giving a testimony about how much they enjoyed our place. A review. Reviews are collected and managed by a third party without the business being involved in the process. Now, this is kind of sounding really weird to say because we ask for reviews like, hey, if you've enjoyed your stay with us, please review us. But if you know, when we say that, we're actually saying it to go to a platform like Google My Business, like TripAdvisor, like Expedia Reviews, whatever the platform is that we're asking to go on, which, by the way, Google's the best one to do that with, okay? And so it's residing on a third-party platform so that people can read about us, what people say about us, without it being us saying it, which is what we would do with a testimonial, okay? So reviews are handled by a third party. And a referral, the third of our categories here, is when a customer willingly tells another person about their positive experience with you, okay? If customers will recommend you to their friends, it means you're doing a lot of things right. A referral, okay, is different for marketing as well. So let's break through. The testimonial is, please, can you tell us what your experience like was with us, okay? And we take that and we use it for our means. We put it on our website, we put it on our brochures, whatever we do. A review, can you give us a review? This is put onto a third party and it's aggregated there by other reviews to talk about what they thought about us on a third party platform, okay? And a referral is, will you share that with a friend of yours so that they want to do business with us as well? Those three variations are literally three variations to our marketing strategy for them. Our pursuit of testimonials versus our pursuit of reviews versus our pursuit of referrals. Let's first say the most valuable of the three is a referral. If you get a guest to tell another guest, potential guest, that they should enjoy your product as well as the first guest did, that is literally doubling your business, okay? Plus also that person does it for more than one person, that one person literally builds more business. The next is a testimonial, okay? Getting a testimonial where somebody is willing to sit and speak favorably about you to you for you to use for your business is the next best thing. And the third out of the three is reviews. Having somebody willing to talk about their experience with you, hopefully in a positive light, obviously, okay, and rate you and review you, is the third out of the three that are the best. In the sense that it's on a third party, it aggregates to other reviews, and then people get a sense of the overall perspective of you in a less biased way. Because testimonial space will be biased in the sense they'll see it on your website. So there'll be a little skepticism of, did this person get paid, which is more of an influencer perspective, okay? But what was the incentive for this? Did this person really, really enjoy them? Okay, compared to a referral, which is literally Loren saying to my friend Bob, hey Bob, man, when you go to Treasure Island, you have to stay at this place where we stayed at. That referral is much more valuable than the testimonial, as in testimonials are great, and way more valuable than reviews. Kind of in your social world, impressions versus likes versus shares. Shares is the most valuable because that was literally somebody taking this saying, I want to give this to somebody else I think will be interested in what it is. Comment on something is like, hey, that's pretty neat. Yeah, I agree with it. It's pretty nice or whatever like that. You're only adding to the dialogue. And then an impression is, yeah, I saw it. Cool. Great. Yeah, wonderful. Thumbs up. Yay. That is the difference between these three as well. Referral is the best. Testimonial is the second best. Reviews are the last. Influencers are a category separate from those. Influencers are those people that you solicit to engage with, either compensated or not compensated, based on the size of their audience, which is broken into the four classifications. Celebrity, which is massively large. Macro, which is couldn't be as large as celebrities in some ways, but more dedicated to the content and the concept of what it is that you're trying to get them to talk about. And then micro, which is more about the individual uniqueness of that person's audience as it's tailored to what it is messaging-wise that you want them to share about your product. And then, of course, the fourth, the outliner, is more of a quasi-PR media influence, which is your media impact from things that are shared by the media about your content as well. So that is pretty much the designation differences between influencers, reviews, testimonials, and referrals, okay? The shifting sands of social means that you have to consider what you're pursuing. Remember that when I say shifting sands, it's supposed to be a metaphor for other things too. When you're in Facebook, you're in Facebook's sandbox. When you're in TikTok, you're in TikTok's sandbox. When you're in Google's YouTube or whatever, you're in YouTube sandbox, Google sandbox. You're on their platforms, okay? And for a certain degree, some of these things we're talking about, like reviews, okay, are in other people's sandbox as well, because they're a third party that's handling them. So a review that is on TripAdvisor is in TripAdvisor's sandbox, or it's on Google's My Business sandbox. You don't get to totally control those platforms. And if you don't know what I mean, just lose the access to your Facebook account one day and see how helpless you feel that all the stuff you've ever done on Facebook is literally not there. There's nothing that you have. It's all on somebody else's platform, their sandbox. So when it comes to the changing sands of social, realize that you may have invested heavily into Twitter, which I haven't. I use Twitter for the show and other things, and I've used Twitter for select clients that are mature in the space that Twitter was a viable platform for them based on the type of audiences that Twitter engaged with and the speed in which Twitter dialogues with. But now all of a sudden Twitter's different. Twitter isn't the same company that we've always known, literally since this week. Everything prior to this week was a Twitter that we were familiar with because it had been its own entity up to that point. Now, you know, one of the big transitions with Twitter was went from private to public. And then it's been what it has been up to this point. Now it's it's privately owned again. It's publicly traded, but privately owned or run, let's put it that way, because it's majority owned. And it's being run by one person now, which is very similar to Facebook, even though there's a board and all this other stuff. If Zuckerberg wants something to be done versus something not being done, it probably is going to be done the way Zuckerberg wants it. So this controlling in somebody else's sandbox isn't yours. So when it comes to your strategy moving forward, it goes back to an old thing that we've always said about asset ownership. It is best to own your own assets on your own environment, whether it be your own website, and have your content yours. So that if you're disemboweled from TripAdvisor, all those reviews you've accumulated and all those people you dedicated to say, please review us on TripAdvisor and tell us what people think about us on TripAdvisor and so forth, doesn't just disappear. It's better to have it on your own website. Now that lends itself towards the testimonials. It's not that you can't gather reviews on your own website and ask for reviews on your own website. But there's a certain biasness in the sense that people do know that on your website, you can control what gets shown. I got a little bit of notoriety got in the USA Today years ago. This goes back to 2006, 2005 maybe, where I was one of the first hoteliers to unfilter TripAdvisor reviews for my hotels so that they got to see both my good reviews and my bad reviews on my website. Ownership was furious with me when they discovered that. And I said it allowed the authentication of our service of our hotels. This was back when TripAdvisor was pretty a shiny new penny on its own. And it just started allowing us to pull the reviews and put it into our own websites. And our ownership was like, why would I pay all this money to advertise people to come to my website just for them to read a bad review? And I said, because people are smart enough to realize that bad reviews sometimes are made by people that are your competitors. Maybe there's a legitimate complaint that they had, and by your addressing that in TripAdvisor, by responding to it, people get to see the fact that although something went wrong, you had every intent to make it right. That's more valuable. We see that in social platforms as well, that sometimes people say, why do I want to leave comments on people's reviews and so forth? It's because they get to see you handle the problem and know whether you're truly trying to handle it or just quiet the person down, whether it's a legitimate issue or whether the person's just being a dick. These are the things that get to be in a public forum. Now, obviously, you don't want the continuing conversation to go out there. You want to ask people, say, hey, we really want to solve this for you, but for us to solve it, we need to share some personal information about who you are and what it is. So can we DM each other, direct message each other, so we can create this communication so we can solve your issue? That's different than trying to keep it out of the public eye. Then there's times that people are just exploitive and they're out there to bash you, and you just have to quiet them down, saying, we're going to block you because it's an unsolvable solution. Back when I used to run hotels, I used to tell my front desk staff, I said, look, if you have a guest that has a problem and you're doing everything you can to solve that problem, because no matter how good you try to be, there's always something that goes wrong. And if after you've done everything that you are feasibly able to do, and that person is simply there to berate you and be mean to you and belligerent to you, that's not your job anymore. That's where my job comes in as a general manager. Go out to the front desk and say, thank you, you're being checked out of our hotel now. And there's accommodations down the road you can go get to. And the people will be fierce, like, how dare you? It's like, because you're not interested in the solution anymore. You're interested in just how much misery you can give us. And that's not our job. And my front desk agents, just get me and step away. This is not what you're hired to. This is what we're paid to do, is just be berated at by some disgruntled guest that cannot be satisfied. And this is at the end of doing everything you can to satisfy them. Don't think you're just going to do this because you want to just get them out of the hotel. But if you can't satisfy the problem, no matter what it is that you can do, and you totally ran out of options what you can do for them, then I told them, it's like, and they're just being mean to you. That's not your job. That's mine to go over and tell them to leave. And that's kind of what I'd say would be the cutting off point when it comes to your engagement with people, with online reviews and open conversation. Allow the dialogue and discourse to be open. And that means that if you do take reviews to your website, you allow the good and the dirty laundry to be there, and how you're handling it. So people see that you're not filtering the reviews and leaving the ones you want up there, but you're actually showing legitimate reviews from people, good, bad, and average, and that they can appreciate the verification, the validation of that. And it might get them off of the TripAdvisor review process and so forth. Unlikely, because it's such a big beast these days, and as much as it's there, I think they long since will be worried about consumer centricity. But the idea is that if you want to own your own content, which is the purpose of our discussion today, then you have to create that unbiased, open dialogue as to all the reviews that are going on that you want to just listen to your website. So there you have it. That is our discussion today for the live show, number 378. And that is influencers, reviews, testimonials, and referrals, the shifting sands of social. So with that, thank you so very much for the privilege of your time, and for the different change of venue. Treasure Island, Florida. We got away for a few days from Southwest Florida. We'll be back at it again tomorrow. But I hope you all are well. You can watch us, of course, on our social platforms, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube, on multiple pages and platforms. And more importantly, you can see it on YouTube TV and Apple TV, and, well, actually it's Google TV because it's Android. It's on apps and iOS and everything else. And also Roku. You can watch us on TV if you'd like as well. And of course, don't forget our Hospitality Marketing Club. It is a journeyman level up. It's not a basic level club. It's a closed door club. You have to actually pass a quiz to join. There's no fee as of yet. It's about peers doing hospitality marketing. They get to collaborate. We have open forums, discussions, Q&As, live sessions, a lot of learning, a lot of sharing, lots of fun stuff. You can find us there at hospitalitymarketing.club, excuse me. And of course, you can always watch this show and all of our podcasts in I Love Lucy refunds at hospitalitychannel.tv. So until next week, show number 379, my name is Loren Gray. Again, thank you for the privilege of your time. I look forward to talking to you next week.